Hi everyone, welcome to my manga collection video. I don't know how many people are actually interested in this. I know I did have quite a few people ask about it, but so you'll notice in this video that pretty much all of the manga I have is shoujo manga. It's not that I don't like other demographics, it's just that for manga specifically, I collect shoujo manga because for manga, it's my favorite demographic. With anime, I like a whole wide range of demographics. I basically like all of the demographics. In fact, I don't really care about demographics, if that makes sense, but with manga, when I'm reading something, I'm more drawn to slice of life or romance. And shoujo does tend to fall into that category. And also, I have very limited space, so I prioritize collecting or buying my favorite shoujo manga because when it comes to other demographics like shonen especially, we get loads and loads and loads of shonen manga licensed all the time. But shoujo, we get a lot less of it, so I prioritize supporting shoujo manga because I want to give the message to publishers that we want more shoujo manga. And also it's just my favorite demographic when it comes to manga overall. And because of my limited space as well, because I have a small bedroom, I prioritize what I like the most. So I'll go over, give like an overview of my shelves quickly first, and then I will go over each of the series separately. So starting at the top, I have a Loafer and then a Card Cup to Sakura figure. Those are the only two figures from my figure collection that I'm keeping because I used to have a lot more figures than I have now, but I've been selling a lot of them. So I've kind of decided I don't really want to collect figures anymore. I'm keeping my favorite ones. I don't know if I'm going to keep Loafer, but yeah. And then I have 3 manga magazines up there. These are the top shelves. There's a little Kirby there waving. And there you go. And then the 2 bottom shelves are empty because my cat likes to scratch my manga to try and wake me up in the morning. And obviously I'm not too keen on that. And also there's my PS2 down there. So anyway, yeah, I used to have 2 bookcases full of manga. But one of my bookcases I'm trying to completely empty. I've got a little bit left because I haven't sold it all yet. But I'm trying to free up some space in my room for something. So I don't have as much manga as I used to have. So this is I know this is a very small collection, and I don't want this video to take as long as my game collection video did. Because even though I didn't have a big game collection, that video was an hour long. So I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. But I do ramble a lot, so we'll see how that goes. So starting off, I have all 5 of the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation novels. This isn't manga, obviously, but danmei, novels, manhua, that all kind of fits into, and webtoons all kind of fit into the same bracket, really, because a lot of people that like manga are also into Chinese manhua or Korean manhwa and webcomics and all that sort of thing. And by extension, maybe even danmei novels. So danmei is the Chinese word for BL, if you don't know. Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation is one of my all-time favorite pieces of fiction. It's a really good political fantasy story that also features a romance. Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian are one of my favorite fictional ships. I basically came across Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation through the donghua. I watched the donghua, I really liked it. Then I watched the live action adaptation, which is The Untamed, and The Untamed just blew me away. It had me so... There's a certain thing that happens Well, there's multiple things that happened that had me very emotional, but there's one scene in particular that had me very emotional. I don't think I've ever cried that much over a piece of fiction before. The thing with danmei and Chinese costume dramas in general is they are usually tragedies. There's a lot of tragedy. Doesn't mean that they have tragic or sad endings, because the ending to Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation is a happy one, but there's a lot of tragedy that happens in order to get there. Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation is very popular. It's kind of raved about because The Untamed was this massive cultural phenomenon in like 2019. I remember if I went onto social media, it was there. It's really popular, and I'm so glad the novels got licensed in English, because I was actually emailing publishers at one point to ask them to license this because I wanted to read the novels so bad. But anyway, I'm not going to gush about this. I absolutely love this series, but I don't want to go on about it too much. Then I have the 9 volumes that are out so far of the comic adaptation of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. Same story, just in comic form. It's, yes, I will take all adaptations of this story, basically. They're actually releasing hardcover copies of the novels, and I'm going to replace the paperback copies I have with the hardcovers, because the hardcovers are stunning. They're, in my opinion, they're a lot better than the paperbacks, but anyway. I also have the manhua. Then we have Nina the Starry Bride, which is the only josei series I have. It's political fantasy that follows Nina, who is an orphan who lives in the slums of her kingdom, and the prince of the kingdom approaches her and asks her to pretend to be Princess Alicia, who is the princess priestess of the kingdom, because Alicia has gone missing and is believed to be dead. So Nina ends up becoming the fake Princess Alicia, and it's a whole there's a lot of political stuff that ends up happening, and there's a love triangle in this. But yes, this is a good political fantasy series. I like it a lot. The art is honestly really stunning, and I'm very excited to see what happens. For once, this is a love triangle where we have no idea where it's going. Which of the 2 male characters is she going to choose? Usually with love triangles in shoujo manga, you can tell from the get-go pretty much which of the 2 male characters the female lead is going to end up with, but in this one you actually can't. Next we have Marmalade Boy, the collector's editions. I have all of them. This is a reprint of Marmalade Boy that released in English, I think it was the late 90s, but the original Japanese manga is from the early 90s. This is a classic. It's a well-renowned shoujo. It's one that I'd always wanted to read but didn't have access to until they released these collector's editions, and I liked it. It's basically a step-sibling romance, because Miki's parents do a couple exchange with this other couple, and they have a son, and they end up all living together in this house. And so they end up becoming step-siblings, but the whole plot is so absurd and ridiculous that it doesn't really bother me, I suppose. It is kind of its time, but it's very fun. And I do like shoujo from the 90s, probably because I grew up, or in my early teens at least, I did watch quite a lot of shoujo from the 90s. So next we have I See Your Face Turned Away. I have the 3 volumes that are out for this so far. This is a very recent series. It's also a shoujo. I like this a lot because it follows the perspective of different high school students and their romances, and they all have an unrequited love of some sort. You know, there's certain characters where you kind of root for them to get together, and I'm interested to see which characters get together, you know. It's just a fairly realistic and grounded portrayal of romance. I like it. I recommend this a lot. Then we have the 3 volumes that are out so far of Much Comes In Like a Lion, which is one of my favorite anime series, so I had to pick up the manga. Yeah, this is really, really good. It's about a 17-year-old boy who is a professional shogi player, and obviously it's about his professional career as a shogi player, but also about him navigating his mental health, because he has mental health problems as a result of trauma, so he's trying to navigate his trauma. It has these really wholesome, heartwarming relationships in it that kind of help him through what he's going through. And yeah, I really like it. It's really good. I highly recommend watching the anime for this, actually. Then we have Love That's an Understatement. There's only one volume for this out so far. I did enjoy this first volume. It's about this girl called Risa, who's a high school student, and this boy called Zen. They're basically opposites because she's kind of like the good girl archetype, and he's essentially kind of like a bad boy. It's good so far. I'm going to read volume 2 and see how I feel about that, and then decide whether I'm going to continue with this series or not. But so far, so good. And the art is really pretty. It's by Fujimomo, and Fujimomo has really, really pretty artwork. Next we have The Rose of Versailles, which is a classic shoujo series. It's from the 70s, but we only recently got it published in English. I actually read this a long time ago initially because I grew up in France, and in France this was licensed and published a long time ago. So it was at my library and I ended up reading it, and it's really, really good. It's a historical fiction retelling of the French Revolution. It's very historically accurate, actually, aside from the fact that there's this character called Oscar who's in it, who is a completely fictional character, never existed. But it follows Oscar and Marie Antoinette's POVs, and it kind of jumps between them. Marie Antoinette, as you probably know from history, ended up becoming the Queen of France, and Oscar is her bodyguard. Now, Oscar is a woman, but she was raised by her father as a man from birth and ended up becoming Marie Antoinette's bodyguard. Then we have Fruits Basket, the icon. Probably the best-selling shoujo manga in the West, at least. If you're familiar with shoujo manga or anime, you've probably watched or read this, and it is really good. It's about this girl called Toru who is now an orphan after her mum passed away, and she ends up living with the Soma family, who have a secret, because each member of the Sulma family is cursed and they represent an animal from the Chinese zodiac, and if they are touched by someone of the opposite gender, then they turn into an animal, the animal that they represent from the zodiac. And basically, this is a slice of life romance that is also about overcoming generational trauma, trying to break the cycle of generational trauma. And it's very good. Got loads of really heartfelt moments in it. It's a really beautiful story. So I highly recommend it. If you've never read or watched this, I recommend it highly. And I'd probably recommend you watch the anime, the 2019 reboot, because that's how I got into the series. I would say that the anime is better in my opinion. I don't know. I prefer the anime so far to the manga. But I'm reading the manga anyway because I heard that there was bits that kind of got cut out in the anime. So then I have all 30 volumes of Kimi Ni Todoke. This is one of my favorite shoujo series. I really love this story. I find Sawako really relatable because she's an outcast at her school, which I was also a social outcast at my school. Basically, she's misunderstood by everyone at her school, and all she wants is to just make friends and try and integrate with everyone. And so it's basically a coming of age story about Sawako growing as a person and coming out of her shell, gaining confidence and self-worth through the help of this boy, her classmate, who is the popular guy at school. And he's very nice and always tries to make an effort to try and help Sawako be included and try and help her gain confidence. And their relationship is really lovely, really sweet. Then we have another one of my favorites, My Love Mix-Up. I have the whole series, all 9 volumes. This is a shoujo BL story. Aoki, the protagonist, has a crush on this girl in his class, and one day he forgets his eraser, and so his crush lends him her eraser, and he ends up accidentally seeing the name of this girl's crush on the eraser. Ida is his name, and so Aoki is heartbroken because he realizes that his crush likes someone else. And then he accidentally drops the eraser. And Ida, the guy in question, picks it up and sees the name on there and thinks that that is Aoki's eraser, and therefore thinks that Aoki has a crush on him. And because Aoki is a nice person and doesn't want to give away or tell Ida about this girl's feelings without her doing it herself, without her consent, you know, he pretends that the eraser is his. So there's this misunderstanding that happens. Through this misunderstanding, he kind of ends up spending more time with Ida, and then Aoki starts developing feelings for Ida. So then he's confused because he's like, oh my God, what's going on? But I have a crush on this girl. But now I'm developing feelings for this guy. He's very confused at first. I won't say any more about what happens, but I kind of gave it away by saying it's a shoujo BL. So it's really funny. Aoki is a really chaotic individual. I absolutely love him as a character. And so if you like a good rom-com, I highly recommend this. This is one of the funniest romance comedies I've ever read. Then we have another favourite of mine, Yona of the Dawn. I have all 44 volumes that are out so far in English. This is honestly just the most popular, most well-renowned shoujo fantasy series. It's really good. If you want a good fantasy story, read this. Yona is the princess of the kingdom of Korka, and her cousin, who she's in love with, ends up starting a coup d'etat and kills Yona's father, because Yona's father is the king. And Yona and her bodyguard end up fleeing the palace to go into hiding. From there, Yona has to try and figure out what she's going to do from here, because her whole world's just been turned upside down and she has no idea what to do. She goes through amazing character development because she starts off as this really sheltered princess and becomes this really strong, amazing woman with a really good, like, political mind. So if you've never read Yona of the Dawn, I highly, highly recommend this. It's so good. I know that it's quite long, but it's absolutely worth the length. This is amazing. Next, we have the full series of Lovesick Ellie. This is another favourite of mine. It's also a rom-com. It's really funny. It follows Ellie, who has a crush on the popular boy at her school, and she has a Twitter account where she basically types out all of her fantasies that she has regarding her and this boy, which really reminds me of like fangirls. It's like basically it's fangirl behaviour that she's exhibiting, which I can relate to, because when I was in my teens and I was heavily into K-pop, I had a Stan account dedicated to my favourite K-pop idols, okay? So, and yeah, it's about their romance, and it's really funny and really sweet. So this is one that I highly recommend. It's really good. Next we have Honey Lemon Soda. This is essentially a Kimi Ni Todoke for a younger audience. It's also a long series. We only have 9 volumes out in English so far. But yeah, it's about Uka, who is also a girl who is a social outcast. In fact, in middle school, she was bullied. And now she wants to, in high school, try and make friends. This boy essentially tries to help her kind of come out of her shell and stuff. So it's literally like the same scenario as Kimi Ni Todoke, except these two characters they're a little bit different to Sawako and Kazehaya, and he's definitely different to Kazehaya because he's a bit standoffish, really. He's not friendly like Kazehaya is. But so this is for a younger audience, so I don't know that everyone would like this that liked Kimi Ni Todoke. But if you like Kimi Ni Todoke, I do recommend trying this because, you know, similar type thing.
Hi, so I realised that I literally completely forgot about Pink and Habanero. So I'm putting this clip in here. It's a rom-com about these two characters. It follows Mugi, who ends up finding out about this guy's secret because he actually works at like a host cafe and he doesn't want people knowing about it. And yeah, he's got a bit of an attitude about him. Like, he's not a really pleasant person, I suppose. Not particularly friendly. Whereas she's obviously, you know, you can kind of tell from her face, she's not like that. So, yeah. And there's a little Kirby again.
Now, I meant to show this earlier, but I have Kieta Hatsukoi, all the volumes of My Love Mix-Up in Japanese. because when I got into this series, it wasn't licensed in English yet, and I didn't know whether it would be licensed in English. So I was reading it monthly as the chapters were coming out in Japanese, and I also started buying the volumes as they came out. And yeah, that's why I have this series in Japanese, basically. Next, I have Tamaranai no wa koi nano ka, the 4 volumes that are out in Japanese of this so far. So this doesn't have a physical English license. It is releasing in English on the K-Manga app. Only problem is that's only available in the US, so I can't read it in English. But this is probably my favorite manga series at the moment. I absolutely love this series. It's another shoujo BL that follows Misuzu, who is kind of a delinquent at his school, but he's essentially like a misunderstood delinquent because he doesn't get into fights because he wants to, but because there's a bunch of guys that keep trying to fight him for some reason. Basically, he ends up protecting Kitahara because Kitahara got attacked by some delinquents on the way home or on the way to school, I can't remember. And Misuzu steps in and helps him. And then Kitahara becomes really interested in Misuzu because he thought he was really cool and stuff. And he basically starts kind of trying to become Misuzu's friend, but Misuzu is very much a loner and is very standoffish with him. He just wants to be left alone. Well, that's what he says. But Misuzu is he's essentially like a Cinderella type character. So he's very prickly on the surface. But actually, he's a very vulnerable, really sweet person beneath that, and he just wants to be understood and loved. It's really sweet. I love their dynamic so much. This is another one that I read monthly when the new chapter releases in Japanese. I always get really excited when a new chapter comes out. This is the series that makes me the romance that makes me the giddiest. I literally get like giddy. Sometimes I even get butterflies. They're just so cute. I love them. Next, we have all of Cinderella Closet. So this follows a girl called Haruka. She has a crush on this boy who she works with part-time, and she asks him out, to which he agrees. And she is kind of freaking out because she basically dresses in very kind of casual, plain clothing all the time and doesn't really make much of an effort with her appearance, and she thinks she doesn't have any sense of fashion or anything. So she's kind of freaking out because she wants to look good for her date. And she meets this person who goes to her college. And this person they dress amazingly, their makeup always looks really good. So Haruka asks this person to help her. This person's called Hikaru, by the way. So Hikaru agrees, helps her pick out clothes and stuff and makeup to go on this date with this boy. But Hikaru is kind of trying to get Haruka to kind of look at fashion and makeup differently, rather than putting on nice clothes and makeup for a boy, to try and please other people. Hikaru wants to try and get Haruka to see fashion and makeup as a form of self-expression. There's a bit of a twist in this, but I'm not going to reveal what the twist is, because I think you would get more out of it if you started this and not knowing what the twist is. But it's a really, really good twist. I was really happy with it. I really liked the direction this went in. It's what I wanted to happen. Then I have the 10 volumes that are out in English so far of Skip and Loafer. This is a shonen series, it's not a shoujo. It's a slice of life following this girl called Misumi, who grew up in the countryside in Japan but really wanted to go to Tokyo for high school. And so that's basically what it's about. It's about her high school life in Tokyo. And she makes all of these friends, and there's a bit of these two have feelings for each other. And it's just a really fun, nice slice of life series, basically. Then I have all 4 volumes of Our Dreams at Dusk. This is a series about LGBTQ and queer issues, I guess. It has a number of LGBT characters in it. It's basically about the struggles and things that the LGBT and queer people experience. And it's basically just a series that's trying to bring light to that and try and get the reader to kind of empathize with these characters and therefore queer people in general. Next I have Choking on Love, the 2 volumes that are out so far of this. This is about Hibari. She's a college student and she's trying to finish her assignment for a project she's working on in like a cafe or something. And there's this group of boys that are being very loud and they kind of start getting into a heated conversation. And one of them, this being Gaku, ends up accidentally knocking over her coffee, which goes all over her laptop, and now she can't finish her assignment. So understandably, she's kind of pissed off. And Gaku is very apologetic and lets her borrow his PC to finish her assignment. And basically that's how they meet, and it's about them two. It's their romance. He is very free-spirited. He's a guitarist in a band. He's also the lead singer, I think. And he's very free-spirited. Basically the complete opposite of Hibari, who is a bit more straight-laced, I guess. But yeah, basically they're drawn to each other. It's kind of an opposites attract story. Something you'll find with a lot of these series that have romance in them that I like is that the characters are basically opposites, because I love the opposites attract trope. It's not like I exclusively only like that kind of dynamic when it comes to romance, but it is my favorite one. Then we have It Takes More Than a Pretty Face to Fall in Love. This is a very new series. It only has 2 volumes. I don't know whether I'm going to keep this though. I mean, I read both volumes and it's cute. I just don't think it's really my sort of thing. It's about this girl who is a fan of him. They go to the same school, but he's a model. And she's a massive fan of his and she's obsessed with how he looks and is constantly fangirling over him. But she will fangirl over him to his face constantly, even when they start becoming kind of like friends. I suppose it's just that it's to the extent where it feels like she's really putting way too much importance on his looks, which is the point of the story. I don't know. It's just not really for me, to be honest with you. Also, the male lead doesn't have much personality to him and I find him kind of boring. But yeah, so I don't think I'm going to continue this one, but it's cute. So now lastly, I do have the One Piece manga box sets here. I don't keep them on my shelves, but I do have all of them. I keep them in my wardrobe, but there you go. That's all of them. Oh, hello, Mitsy. Hello. And off she goes. So yeah, One Piece is one of my favorite series. I started One Piece when I started it in, I'm sure it was 2012 I started it. It was in the Fisherman Island arc at the time. I haven't read or watched any One Piece in a few years because I like to let a few episodes or chapters build up first, and then I tend to go in and kind of binge watch or read it. And at this point, I know that it's nearing its end, so I'm kind of considering just waiting until it finishes and then just reading from where I was up to. I basically was right at the end of the Wano arc. But yeah, One Piece is one of my favorite series. Luffy is my favorite character. I love Luffy. But there you go. That is my manga collection. It's not massively big, but I do really like all the stuff I have, which is kind of the point. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.